I tend to see the world through what's called rose-colored glasses. And this doesn't mean that I don't see the flaws in whatever I'm looking at, but it just means generally I'm optimistic about things. I generally think that things will probably work out. When I try something new, I always assume it'll be fine. Even though I've failed countless times in almost every pursuit I've ever tried to do, I've failed at some point in that pursuit. But I really don't think of my failures as being failures. I don't think of them as being a bad thing at all. I just think of it, well, it just didn't work out the way I intended it to work out. And then I tried something different, tried something new, and see if that would work. I wrote my first big grant proposal back in 2013, and I had really big ideas. I had kind of grand ambitions wrapped up into this proposal. I had really cool groups of people that I was working with, other institutes throughout the world, and I got the rejection notice a few weeks after I submitted saying, nope, this is not feasible. And so I tried it again. I wrote another proposal. I had a different idea, still something really compelling that I got excited about. I had a different group of partners, also something I was really excited about. And I got rejected again. Another rejection that said, it's not detailed enough. You have not gone into detail about how you're going to implement that grant. Since then, I've written well over 50 grant proposals, and these grant proposals are anywhere from like 10 pages to 100 plus pages. Of those 50 grant proposals, about 15 were ended up being funded, so that's an acceptance rate of about 30%. And in my field, that's exceedingly good. A lot of researchers, they'll have acceptance rates for their grants in the 20%, maybe even in the teens or lower. But this also means that 70% of the time, when I write a grant proposal, it's going to be rejected. Now, if you're starting a new grant proposal and you're having to sit down and think, okay, I'm going to write 100 plus pages in the hopes that this gets funded, but I only have a 30% chance of it getting funded, you've got to be an optimist to go down that road. It takes months to prepare these applications, sometimes years. And if you think about the odds of you failing, you're never going to do it. You're just never going to pick up and start that process. Why would you even bother spending that time? It's just too risky. So what I do is I stop thinking about those 70% of the grant proposals I've written that have failed, and I start thinking about them as they just haven't succeeded yet. So it's not a failure, they just haven't succeeded yet. I need to give it another shot. The reviewers of those proposals, the ones who rejected the proposal, they had their reasons, I'm sure, for one reason or another. Maybe something wasn't clear that I had written. Maybe what they said, as they said in the first couple of proposals I wrote, my ambitions were grand, but the implementation just wasn't there, it wasn't clear enough. Or maybe it just didn't fit the needs of the funder. You know, grant funders, they often want specific things, and if you try to give them something else, they might look at you and go, nope, you're just missing the mark. Or maybe it just didn't meet all the criteria. All of these grants have some sort of eligibility criteria, and maybe I just missed one of those. One way or the other, I failed to get a lot of funding that I applied for. And I imagine, though, if I rewrote those applications enough times, maybe it takes 10 times rewriting it, that finally I get it funded, that eventually it would get funding. And so it's all about learning what I did wrong, where I went awry, and fixing it, trying to figure out how I can do it better the next time. That's really what it comes down to for me in this field of work. So the takeaway here is this. Failing is awesome. Failing is the best possible thing that you can do because it gives you a chance to learn and become better. But don't think of it as a failure. You have to stop thinking of your experiences as being failures. It's just a success that hasn't happened quite yet. And you may abandon it. You may choose a different direction, and that's okay too. It still doesn't constitute a failure. It just constitutes the nudge that you needed to go into a different direction. The only thing you need to do after you've been rejected from a grant or anything else in your life is just learn. Learn from that experiences. Learning turns anything that you might think of as a failure into an opportunity.